Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about if you can't tip, don't order delivery. Instacart driver accidentally accepts an order with no tip, sparking debate.
Oh, this is an Instacart story.
I think we can all agree with the concept of no tip, no trip. And that includes Instacart, that includes Doordash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, really any gig app that is dependent on tips. That being said, however, on Instacart, it operates very differently than Doordash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. Unassigning an order can actually be pretty detrimental to your ratings and your ability to actually make money on the platform. So in this video, I actually want to go over what this person's saying, how it actually is, and everything in between on the subject, because this is always a fire topic. So with that said, let's get started. An Instacart driver sparked debate on TikTok after saying she was so mad at herself for accepting an order with no tip. Okay, one mild change I would make to the way this is worded for Instacart specifically. You're not accepting an order, you're claiming an order. On DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub, you're online waiting to accept an order. They're sending you orders and you're choosing whether or not to accept or decline it. On Instacart, Shipped, Corner Shop, you're not accepting an order that way. Instacart used to work that way once upon a time where base pay was high and Instacart was new, but they changed it to where now you have to go in the app and claim the order for yourself. Now, that being said, in the process of you claiming the order, another shopper can end up claiming the order before you even have the opportunity to look at any of the details to make sure that the order actually made sense, which leads to a lot of Instacart shoppers being like, really? But I totally get how she was mad at herself for it. The order, a delivery from Walmart, cost around $267 and took user Angelica CA, around an hour and a half to complete. Her wages before taxes and gas costs for this delivery came out to just over $20. I'm gonna leave her TikTok in the description so you can develop your own opinions on the subject. I actually think we've covered her before. We ended up finding out something about how DoorDash drivers can end up on military bases, so I'll leave that video in the description in case you haven't seen it already. But Walmart customers as a whole are kind of known to be cheap. They don't really tip their drivers. It's just kind of how they are as people. Like, how many Walmart orders have you gotten that everybody in the gig economy just hates? So it honestly doesn't surprise me that it made its way into Instacart, and because of that, they're just not happy with it. The video has sparked debate about tipping, garnering over 583,000 views in the process of Saturday. The things you do for content, huh? In the video, Angelica says she had been waiting for around 2 hours for any deliveries to come through. When one finally did, she accepted, not realizing that the customer had not left a tip. Yeah, that's usually why I prefer to actually focus on other things while I'm waiting instead of just sitting in a car somewhere. Because what's going to end up happening is that you end up sitting around for hours. And because you're sitting around for hours, like, that's time that you're not committing to your own stuff. Like, come on. And then you're so dependent on the income you make from Instacart that you end up getting hurt because of it. As her cancellation rate is admittedly a little high, she opted to still complete the order, making brief pauses to document the entire experience on TikTok. That's why I'm always the proponent to say only accept orders you're definitely going to follow through on, because then you end up in that situation and you end up having to take orders you definitely don't want. So never accept teeter-totter orders. Angelica says the order was 70 items, including multiple large cases of drinks, meat, produce, and chips. The customer left no tip upon delivery, meaning that, including her waiting time, Angelica spent around 3.5 hours on the job before earning $20. So 3.5 hours for $20, that's a little bit more than $5 an hour. Are you serious? Walmart back at it again. And think about it like this. On Instacart, you have to shop for all of these items. You're not just picking up a order and leaving. You're going into Walmart, picking out 70 items, checking out with it like every other customer, bagging it up, leaving, then dropping it off to the customer. 3.5 hours worth of work. And that's why usually when I do Instacart, I aim for stores that are smaller in size, low in item count, and tipping decently, especially since Instacart is also known for tip baiting. The idea of accepting an order purely based on tips, that off a debate amongst commenters. You always know that these conversations are going to go great. On one side, users said that tipping on Instacart should be a requirement as many delivery drivers depend on tips to make ends meet. Very controversial opinion on my part, but I don't believe that customers tipping should be a requirement. I believe that the way a customer tips is a display of their character. If their character shows that they tip well, they're willing to give some of the money they're actually making, they actually understand the struggles we're going through, they're gonna tip well, those are the kinds of customers I want to serve. The other side to that, let's say a no-tip order, they're probably cheaper to begin with. They're like constantly in this state of resting B-face. They feel a level of entitlement. Those people tip poorly every single time. And not to mention, they're also the kinds of customers that rate you poorly too. So that would actually affect your income on Instacart. Yes, your ratings will actually affect your income on Instacart. So it's irresponsible to take an order with no tip on it. And now you want to mix those customers with the customers that actually tip well? That's irresponsible. Like, you'll get more deactivations on Instacart and people will not be able to actually make ends meet because of it. You should always have a tip, one user wrote. If you can't tip, don't order delivery. I agree with the latter of that. If you can't tip, don't order delivery. Yes, as drivers, we would decline it over and over again. Or just ignore the order if it's on Instacart. But why would you put yourself through that headache if you know that it's not going to work out for you? People saying money is tight and everything is so expensive to tip, but I can't afford to tip, then I don't place an order. Another shared, I go to the store. Always an option. You can always just go to the store yourself. A lot of us would actually totally understand that too. Yeah, these services are luxury services. They're convenient. You're paying for the convenience. And you're also paying for the driver to not take orders on other apps and to focus on you specifically. WTH, that's all heavy to carry. They should have tipped. A third added, nah, reject the order because they are laughing it up sitting on a couch waiting for you. Actually speaking, I don't think that they're laughing it up sitting on a couch. It's more like crabs in a bucket. Their life is going so poorly that they need to rip you apart because of it. And it's really sad to see that that's the kind of life we're living in at this point. Like, why do we have to destroy others just because they're doing well? They shouldn't allow a zero tip. Again, I've stated my piece on that. Although I will say this, if you don't allow a zero tip, and what would the minimum threshold be? Because I'll tell you what, I think it's more insulting to see a penny as a tip than zero. That shows me that you knew what you were doing. In contrast, other users said that tipping should not be necessary. Here's the thing. Should it be necessary? No. Is it necessary? Yes. Should we fight to change all that and everything like that? It's not going to go anywhere. So stop trying to waste your time trying to fix a system they broke and start making a system that actually ends up paying you well. That's what gig work is for, to be an income bridge to what would be a long-term goal. It's never the goal. I'm so confused to the definition of a tip change, one user asked. You see, this person is the same person that would make the argument to the death about the concept of a tip being after the delivery. They will say things like, oh, you tip after the delivery, you tip after the service is already done, I always tip in cash, and at the same time, they'll double back on their word and there's not tip at all. Disgusting. It is not necessary to leave a tip, to be honest, to the second degree. It's also not necessary for you to get your groceries delivered, but here you are. Some people can't afford tips and are barely able to afford groceries, a third claim. If you're able to afford Instacart delivering your food instead of you going to the store, those fees will be more expensive than you just going there, I want to be clear. Then why the hell are you ordering on Instacart? Oh, because I have this membership that I pay a certain amount a month, so those fees go to zero. Hear what you said. You paid for that membership. Again, you can't afford it. Why do you pay for it? People impress me. People genuinely impress me. Angelica responded to this comment via another video, noting that Instacart customers pay an additional fee to order groceries through the platform. While she claims Walmart itself has a separate free delivery service, the customers need to be Walmart Plus members and pay a monthly fee for the free delivery. Exactly. And honestly, this applies to Instacart, Doordash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. If you're paying for a delivery, tip the driver. I don't use delivery services myself because I can't afford to pay all the extra fees included, Angelica says. So yes, I get that some people are not able to afford groceries. I totally get it. These are just truly my thoughts that if you are spending the additional money to use the delivery services, it would be very, very kind and generous to add something to the end of it. I think if you're expecting a service from somebody else that is in business from themselves and you're not paying them for that business, it's unreasonable. And if they care so little about our well-being to where the drivers are basically getting paid next to nothing, then they shouldn't be there. However, the majority of comments agreed with Angelica. Okay, the majority of comments are from commenters who were on her page because she developed a following that are Instacart shoppers or gig workers in general. Are there people that aren't gig workers that totally understand why we need to be tipped and actually make money at the end of the day? Yes. But then you're also going to attract the significantly large amount of people that are like, drivers don't deserve tips and things like that. It's disgusting.
Tipping culture's out of control.
Some people, man, some people. As one user wrote, there is never a reason not to leave a tip. Exactly. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. In most cases, you should absolutely do everything you can to tip your drivers and make sure your drivers are well taken care of. Hands down. Now, as drivers, it is your responsibility to decline orders for your financial safety. I want to be clear. This isn't about the customer. This is about your financial safety. It is your responsibility to make sure you decline orders that do not make sense to you. You can't take that. This is why I don't prioritize Instacart very highly on my gig app list. Because you can end up in this situation where you accidentally take a no-tip order or an order that has a lot of miles on it and you didn't realize it. And I think this was a good reminder for a lot of drivers that we are independent contractors and we need to be looking out for ourselves more than anything else. And 80% of the money you're going to be making is from tips, 20% of the cause. So make sure you're doing everything you can to maximize your income from these gig apps. Make sure you diversify into other gig apps. Make sure you're not dependent on gig apps for an extended period of time. Remember, gig apps are an income bridge to what would be a long-term goal. It's never the goal. Make sure you're building something on the side that is actually going to sustain you in the event that these gig apps end up having a lot of customers that don't tip you, especially with the economy acting the way it is. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!